Today's episode is going to be like a charcuterie board, a little bit of everything. Hello, New York Giants fans. Welcome back to the Everything New York Giants podcast. The Giants are 2-5 heading into Monday Night Football against the Steelers in Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 5-2. So we know that this game is going to be a challenge. And honestly, based on everything that's happened recently, I don't think we need to preview this game for 20 minutes. So here's what today's episode is going to be about. I'm going to keep it to about 20 minutes. Going to talk a little bit about Giants Steelers, injury report, things like that. Then going to talk a little bit about the Yankees, because if you think Brian Daboll is a bad coach, you have not seen Aaron Boone as a general manager. So we're going to talk about that World Series a little bit. And then one of my favorite brands who does NFL stuff is having a site-wide sale, 25% off today only, which they only do once a year. And I have a ton of stuff from them, one of them being this Giants clear bag. So anyway, I wanted to talk about that a little bit. And then, anything else. So let's get started with Giants versus Steelers. I want to talk about the injury report because it's a fun one. So Daboll spoke to the media yesterday. Now, because it's Monday Night Football, obviously they have that extra day. So we do not have the final statuses for any of the players yet. And at this point, I decided I don't really want to wait for that. One more thing. I knew I had one more topic I wanted to cover. We're going to talk about college quarterbacks to watch that are playing today, because I know that's going to be a hot topic on everyone's mind. So we'll get to that at the end. Let's get back to the injury report. So for the Giants, this is the injury report as of yesterday, Friday, October 25th. The following players did not participate. Brian Burns, who's dealing with a groin/Achilles. Jermaine Illuminor, we're going to talk about the tackle situation in a minute, dealing with a hip injury. Jamie Gillen, dealing with a hamstring. Adoree Jackson with a neck. And linebacker Ty Summers with an ankle. Next up, the guys who are limited, Cordell Flott, who's also dealing with a groin injury, because isn't everyone on the Giants? Cornerback Trey Hawkins, who's dealing with an ankle injury. And then last up, Dexter Lawrence, who's dealing with a hip. Those three guys were limited. And then I know everyone is going to be absolutely thrilled to hear that these two players were a full go. Wide receivers, Bryce Ford-Wheaton and Jalen Hyatt. So we have discussed this at length, and at this point, I don't really know what the answer is, but why with the Giants is it every single year that players have the same injury? It's everyone's dealing with a hamstring one year, then last year it's the neck injury, this year it's a groin. Why literally all the Giants players that have been injured are dealing with some sort of groin? I don't understand what it is. I don't have any answers here. I just think it's something that needs to be noted, because every year, at least over the last 2 years, they seem to make some sort of changes to the strength and conditioning staff. And this is where we're at. We're still one of the teams who is dealing with the most injuries in the league. And of course, it's to our star players, which I always say, understand that it's a violent sport, but when your team leads the NFL in injuries for a decade, there's a common denominator there, okay? And when every year everyone's dealing with the same type of injury, something is not right. Again, I'm not a athletic trainer. I don't know the answers to this. I don't know how to fix it. But what I do know is that something is off and something needs to be fixed. And I say this all the time. I don't like to see people get fired. I think that it's time for Ronnie Barnes to retire. He is in his 70s. But don't you just want to enjoy life at this point? Don't you want to move on? He's 72. So I don't know. I feel like at that age, I would be like, I'm good. I'm ready to retire and enjoy my life. I probably have about 10 years left at this point. So I don't know. That's bizarre to me too. But who am I to say I'm not in my 70s and still working? But I can guarantee you in my 70s, I will not still be working. I don't care how much money I'm getting paid. Anyway, I don't know. Very bizarre to me. So let's continue on with the injuries, because Daboll, when he spoke to the media, said this. So Jermaine Illuminor is dealing with a hip injury. So Daboll said that he's not ruling him out for Monday. There is a chance that he plays. So this is what he also said, is that in Illuminor's place is Evan Neal. Evan Neal is getting the first team reps at right tackle. Now, I know a lot of us have been saying the guy's a 7th overall pick. We want to see him play. There are a lot of things that are bizarre to me about this. One of them being the Giants were down 28-3 in the beginning of the fourth quarter last week, and they didn't put Evan Neal in for a single snap. Why? I don't know. Bizarre. They take out the quarterback who's got an injury clause, but they leave in Illuminor, who, like, we very much need our starting tackles, like when you don't have a good swing tackle, give Evan Neal the reps at that point. Like, what is the issue here? So now we're finally potentially going to see Evan Neal against TJ Watt and the Steelers. So I feel great about that, as I'm sure you guys all feel great about that as well. The other thing is Daboll is not committing to Ezeudu at left tackle, which he shouldn't be. He shouldn't have been ever committed to him playing left tackle this year. That is another story that we have talked in depth about, and it drives me absolutely insane. But so anyway, he said that Chris Hubbard is going to get some snaps at tackle. So then this leads me also to my other issue with this whole Evan Neal situation is Evan Neal was a good left tackle in college. I cannot understand for the life of me. I understand that Chris Hubbard was not on this roster 2 weeks ago. But why are you not putting Chris Hubbard at right tackle? And why have you not had Evan Neal get left tackle snaps instead of forcing Joshua Ezeudu to try and play left tackle, which we all saw he's not a good left tackle. I do not care who the coach is. Carmen Brasillo has done a wonderful job. Don't get me wrong. He is not a magician. He is not turning Evan Neal or Joshua Ezeudu into all pros at the tackle position. And this is the stuff that infuriates me about Daboll is the stubbornness. Like, make it stop. So it sounds like we could see Hubbard on Monday at left tackle and we could see Evan Neal at right tackle. And again, all I have to say is that if this is the situation going into Monday night, you cannot play Daniel Jones. And I know that people don't want to see him play anymore because they're sick of watching him play football, which is a fair argument in itself. But my concern is the injury settlement. And I understand that Daboll is probably fighting for his job to some degree, even though Mara came out and said he's really not. At the end of the day, if he loses the locker room goes in shambles and starts talking shit to the media and, is visibly going against each other and giving up on plays and not clearly giving a shit about the team, then he's going to get fired. And I think one of the ways in which that will happen is if you trot out Daniel Jones behind two new tackles, one of them being Evan Neal, who has not played since last year, and one of them being Chris Hubbard, who may or may not be better than Joshua Ezeudu. He has to be better than Joshua Ezeudu because anyone is literally better than Joshua Ezeudu. So I don't understand the rationale. I understand the optics of it, that their reasoning probably is we can't just bench him because of the injury guarantee when we're still trying to win football games, which is whatever. And then it's like, well, if we bench Jones now, he's done for the season. Like, we're not going to go back to him next week, which I don't know. You can do whatever you want. Why wouldn't you do that? You say to Daniel Jones in private, you've got this injury settlement. It's been a rough year so far for you. We got to do what we got to do. You're not going to be here next year. Is that going to go over well? Probably not. But you're the coach. You're the one who has to have these tough conversations. So figure it out. So all of that to say, I don't really feel great going into Monday night. And I'm sure that none of you do as well. There's the primetime aspect. There's the 1-14 aspect. There's the offense coming off a game where they couldn't score a single touchdown. There's the tackle situation. There's the fact that Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence might not play, although Dexter was limited, so I feel better about him than I do about Burns. But, he also said, Daboll, that Cordell Flott, he doesn't feel confident that he's going to play on Monday. So, then you've got Shane Bowen out here talking about Banks and how that was unacceptable. And, yes, Banks is going to play on Monday, but he didn't confirm whether or not he was actually going to start. So I just don't really feel great about this whole situation on Monday night. I am going to live stream it. So please join me on YouTube. I will be live at 8:15 on Monday night to live stream the game with you guys. And I'm also going to go back and forth between the Yankees game because it's the World Series. And if the Giants can't get it together, I hope that the Yankees can. So with that being said, Russ Wilson's going to be the starter again for the Steelers. Their offensive line is dealing with some injuries. So, there's that. I again, am worried about Brian Burns if he doesn't play. I am worried about our offensive line and TJ Watt, who has 4.5 sacks. And if this game goes any way remotely close to the way that the Eagles game went, then TJ Watt will be walking out of here with more sacks, probably, than Dexter Lawrence. So again, don't feel great about that. I don't really know what else I can say about this game other than the fact that I am concerned about it. The things that I want to see are an offensive line block. I want to see Daniel Jones throw touchdowns. He's done that more so, a lot more in away games than he has in home games. Do I have the confidence that he can do that at this point in the season? Not necessarily. Do I feel like Drew Lock is going to be better than him? Not necessarily. I think a big part of this game is going to be, can the offensive line hold up? How many tight ends are going to be put in the game to block? Are the receivers going to get separation? Is Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton going to continue to drop 50% of the balls that come their way? I don't know. One thing that I do want to see more of is Tyrone Tracy. And that's something that I feel like normally I would probably be a little more optimistic about this, but the Steelers actually have a really good run defense. So knowing Daboll, this is going to be the week that he comes out trying to establish the run against a really good run defense instead of trying to do that against really bad run defenses. So, that's that. That's all I'm going to say about this game. I'll see you guys on Monday night. Let's talk about the Yankees for a second, because like I said, if you think Daboll is a bad head coach, you have not paid attention to anything that Aaron Boone has done, which is fine because I know a lot of you are also not Yankees fans like myself, so I get it. Aaron Boone has made a lot of questionable decisions over his time as the Yankees manager. None more questionable than what he did during the 10th inning last night against the Dodgers. The worst part is he gave a Daboll-like answer in his post game. So for those of you who don't know, the Yanks are up 3-2 in the bottom of the 10th. I think there were 2 outs with Luke Weaver in. They yank Luke Weaver when I'm pretty sure it was right after Shohei's at bat. Shohei gets out. They've got runners on first and second. They walk Mookie Betts with 2 outs, okay? They bring in Nestor Cortes, who has not pitched in 6 weeks because he's coming off an injury. So they bring in Nestor Cortes with the bases loaded, 2 outs in the bottom of the 10th to Freddie Freeman. And if you saw the score today, you don't need to know how that went, but I'll tell you how it went. 1 pitch and he hits a grand slam and the game's over. A walk-off grand slam in the bottom of the 10th because Nestor Cortes, who hasn't pitched in 6 weeks, is the answer, according to Aaron Boone, instead of Tim Hill. I have no words. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And like I said, I don't think Boone is a good manager. I think he's a good players coach. I think the players love him. I think he makes asinine decisions when it comes to the bullpen, the lineup, and all sorts of other shit. This being one of them. What are you thinking? So then he's asked, well, what was he thinking? He's like, oh, it's kind of a quick decision. I didn't really think that much about it. You think? I spend more time trying to figure out what type of flavor I'm going to put in my coffee when I'm at Dunkin' Donuts than he did in the bottom of the 10th in the World Series. Game 1. Tim Hill was warming up. It was not a difficult decision. It's like picking between Daniel Jones and Aaron Rodgers as your quarterbacks. That's probably not even a good comparison because Aaron Rodgers is playing like shit this year. But he's the first one that came to mind. Even Russell Wilson at this point. Daniel Jones and Russ Wilson. 99.9% of you are going to take Russ Wilson over him. It's just a logical decision. It makes no sense. I cannot for the life of me understand what Boone was thinking. And obviously none of us could because everyone, literally everyone, was shocked by that decision. So the Yanks are now down 0-1 in the World Series. So I know my Mets fans have tuned out, so I'm going to switch tunes now at this point. So Anyway, Stony Clover is this brand that I love. The brand is called Stony Clover Lane. They make a ton of accessories, and they recently collaborated with the NFL, which was before I made this bag. So they have basically a bunch of accessories in all different colors that you can customize. They have patches, stuff like that. You can do embroidery, all sorts of stuff. So I bought this 2 years ago during their Stony Clover Saturday. They do 25% off almost everything on their website. They never do sales. It's a once a year thing. It's like their Black Friday type of deal. So I customized this with the NYG. If you guys ever see me at MetLife, I'm wearing this every single time because it's a clear bag. I can get into the stadium, and I loved the red with the navy patches. So now that they collabed with the NFL, they have Giants patches. They have all sorts of teams. If anyone's watching this, they're not a Giants fan. They also collaborated with 47 brand, and they have t-shirts and hats and stuff like that I also are believe on sale. So I'll link this, but I'm a huge fan of their brand. I'll show you guys on Instagram because I'm not going to walk you into my closet right now, but I have like 100 different pouches from them. I'm not exaggerating. I'm a pouch queen. So anyway, I love this bag. I use it every single home game. Okay, let's switch tunes and talk about quarterbacks because I know that this is probably all everyone cares about at this point. So if you have not paid any attention to college football and you don't know any of the quarterbacks to watch, I will give you some ideas if you're around today, this evening, and you want to watch some college football. Arch Manning is not going to be one of them because he's not declaring for the draft next year. So stop fucking talking about Arch Manning. I cannot, like, I don't know how many times I have to explain to people, like, am I speaking a different language? I am fairly certain that I am speaking English. Arch Manning is not entering the draft in 2025, which is when likely the Giants will be drafting a quarterback. Okay, let's move on. Number one, let's start with the 3:30 game, Missouri and Alabama. If you guys have not heard, Jalen Milroe is the Alabama quarterback. He's a dual threat. He can run, he can throw. He is a great option, I think, that's going to be coming out of Alabama. So if you're around to watch a 3:30 game, that's a guy that I would definitely keep your eyes on because it's very likely that he's going to declare. He's having a great season for Alabama. He is aggressive when it comes to throwing the ball. So I think one thing to note about him is in the last couple of weeks, he's thrown a few interceptions. But I think that as Giants fans, we would probably all agree that we would rather see Daniel Jones or any quarterback on this team throw the ball down the field, give your wide receiver an opportunity to make the play as opposed to not throwing the ball past 5 yards, right? Like I would rather see him throw for 20 touchdowns and 14 interceptions than not throw for a single touchdown and only throw interceptions or, not throw it past the sticks. So anyway, so Jalen Milroe, okay, keep your eyes peeled for him. He's playing at 3:30. Next up is going to be Florida State versus Miami. This is a 7 p.m. game. Miami's quarterback is Cam Ward. Again, if you have not heard about him, he is a great quarterback that's coming out, going to be declaring for the draft. I know a lot of Giants fans love him. Again, another dual threat. He's fast. He makes quick decisions. And overall, from everything that I have seen and heard about him, he is going to be a really good option where his skills can translate well to the NFL. So Cam Ward is playing at 7 p.m. Saturday night tonight. He is a Miami Hurricane. So he is a guy that I would say keep your eyes peeled on as well. Next up is going to be LSU versus Texas A&M. This is a night game tonight at 7:30. Their quarterback is Garrett Nussmeier. He is another good opportunity or another good player that I've heard coming out is going to have a great opportunity in the NFL. I don't know if you guys follow Dave Syvertson. I love him. He is a Giants fan, but he is also a scout. And he is fantastic. He breaks down Giants tape, college tape, everything. If there's anyone that you want to go to who you want expert opinions on when it comes to the draft, Dave Syvertson is that guy. In his opinion, Garrett Nussmeier is the number one quarterback coming out of this draft class. He's his favorite. He's played in the SEC. He's an LSU quarterback. He likely knows Malik Neighbors. I'm sure that they have some sort of rapport. So keep that in mind. If you want to watch that game tonight, keep your eyes peeled on Nussmeier. I think he is also going to be a really great option. Do you guys want to hear about the Duke quarterback? I'm just kidding. I know no one ever wants to hear about another Duke quarterback again, which is totally fine. Okay, the other quarterback that you guys all know about is Shedeur Sanders. It's not coming up here right now, but let me just check real quick because I know that they are playing today and Colorado is favored to win. And I don't need to tell you anything, I don't think, about Shedeur Sanders because, oh, they play today, but the time is TBD. Very interesting. Anyway, so they are playing Texas Tech, and we all know Shedeur Sanders. He is Deion Sanders' son. He is a very good quarterback. He is very talented. I think that he will have success in the NFL. I think that he's a bit of a drama queen, and that is what concerns me the most. He has thrown his offensive line under the bus publicly. He said it's their fault that they lost a football game, which would never fly in New York. We all know that. He also left games early when they were losing. He just went into the locker room. Like, if that's not a sore loser, then I don't know what is. So I have my concerns about him. I know that he is a very good quarterback, to each their own. In my opinion, he is not my favorite. And it's because of those things. And it's because of his dad, which I think is a shame. But the apple doesn't fall far from the tree from what I have seen, where, there was a lot of talk about Marvin Harrison Jr., Marvin Harrison Sr., and, the things that I have seen from Marvin Harrison Jr., he seems very humble and respectful and, very different than I think from what I've seen out of the Sanders. So those to me are the top 4 quarterbacks, the college ones to watch today. For those of you who have the time and the interest, those I would say I would be checking out. I have not watched a lot of Cam Ward, so he is going to be a guy that I'm going to focus on tonight for the first hour, and then it's World Series time. So I will not be watching that whole game, but I will flip back and forth because, like I said, I want to see more of him, and I also want to see more of Nussmeier, who is LSU's quarterback. So I will be watching those 2 games tonight, keeping a close eye on them and seeing what I see out of those. And then I will be here Monday night live streaming. So thank you guys for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. If you're a Yankees fan, we're going to turn it around. Let's be optimistic. It's not all doom and gloom, hopefully. But so enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll see you guys Monday night. Please like, subscribe, share with a friend, subscribe on YouTube because I'm going to be live here, live streaming on YouTube. So you guys can chime in. We can chat in the comments. I actually am going to be able to bring people in. So I'm doing this with DraftKings. So as long as you promise not to curse and not to be mean to me personally, you can be mean to the Giants or the Steelers, all that you want. That's cool. Or even, the Eagles or the Cowboys if you want. But I'm going to have the option, I believe, to take call-ins. So that will be really exciting. So hope you guys can join me Monday Night Football. My channel is Everything New York Giants. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will see you Monday night. Go Giants and go Yankees.